Hello, high level listeners. Welcome to episode 6 of season 2 of our Advanced English podcast series. We're high level listening, and we're here to help you take your English to the next level with both American and British English. And today we're talking all about movies, or films if you're from the UK. We'll be giving you some high level English vocabulary about movies on streaming sites like Netflix and movies in the theater as well.
Yes, that's right. Welcome to the channel. As usual, we will both share our own experiences about watching a film. Kat's version will be with a more American style of speech, while mine will have a more British style. But as usual, both of our scripts will have a very similar meaning, so you get double the vocabulary and more ways to describe movies or films that you like.
As a quick reminder, if you want to get the PDF transcript of this episode to take offline and study at your own pace, you can become a high-level listener member to get your hands on that. High-level listening members can download the PDF transcript of this episode and every single episode. Just click the join button here on YouTube. Members also get exclusive discounts on our season 1 study packs, courses, and more.
Okay, so let's get on to the scripts then. I will ask Kat the question today. Have you seen any good movies lately?
Oh, I just saw this really cool action movie the other day on Netflix. It might be a new release. Let me check IMDb. No, I think it came out last year. Did you go see it? It's the one with Keanu Reeves? No? Honestly, if you like the Fast and Furious and all those kinds of movies, I think you'd really like this one. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Okay, big deal, car chases and explosions. But this one is actually really good. The whole setup is pretty wild because it mixes in a bit of sci-fi without going overboard. I thought the characters were really good, surprisingly relatable despite the over-the-top big action scene. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the ending was a little predictable. Still, I definitely recommend it if you're into nonstop action. Okay, so I shared kind of a lot of vocabulary and expressions that you would hear, especially in America. And we want to hear from Mark with his British accent and his British script. Mark, seen any good movies lately?
So the other day we went and saw that new thriller everyone's talking about. It just came out a few days ago, but have you seen it yet? If you like Gone Girl and things like that, then this will be right up your street. It starts off like your standard thriller. This woman disappears and no one knows where she is. So this policewoman has to try and find her, and it goes on from there. And it's full of twists and turns. I liked it more than I thought I would. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and the actors were genuinely believable for most of it. No spoilers, but you can see the ending coming a mile away. But by the end, I was actually quite invested. I'd say it's definitely worth seeing on the big screen as well. So you should check it out before it goes. Okay, so those are our two scripts. We both watched two different films, different genres as well, but our vocabulary and our actual stories were pretty similar. So to help you understand the best vocabulary and phrases, we'll go through our script from start to finish. We'll explain some of the best phrases, give you some more examples, and then we'll go back to the start with Kat first. What did you watch?
Oh, I just saw this really cool action movie the other day on Netflix. So now sometimes in English, we will use the word saw. I saw a really cool movie. I went and saw a really cool movie, meaning I went to the movie theater. I went and saw. Or I watched. All of these are correct. The difference would be saw and watched would probably be for something you watched at home, maybe on Netflix, on HBO, on TV. And saw could be going out to the movie theater, went and saw something at the movie theater. But we can use watched as well. I watched something. I saw a new movie. Actually, now that I think of it, when I say I saw a new movie, that feels like we went to the movie theater, didn't just watch it at home. But I saw something on Netflix as well. So I just saw this really cool action movie the other day on Netflix. So I have a little word here that Mark and I have discussed together. This really cool action movie. Now, I'm not specifically showing Mark this action movie. I'm kind of talking about it in the sense that it's new to me and to Mark. And I've never talked about this before. This really cool movie, this really nice restaurant, this fun little town, because it's new to this conversation. If I said I just saw that really cool action movie, if I said that cool action movie, that really nice, that really fun action movie, it would sound like Mark and I have talked about that movie before. That movie that we talked about. So, this really cool action movie is new to me and Mark. And it's kind of funny. We do say action movie, but we have other genres where we don't use the word movie, like a comedy. I just saw this really cool comedy. I just saw this really cool romantic comedy, this drama. But for horror movie, thriller, scary movie, action movie. So some genres we say the word movie and some of them we don't need to. All right. What about you, Mark? What movie did you watch?
So the other day, we went and saw that new thriller everyone's talking about. So to go through my sentence at the start, the other day. So the other day. The other day is a useful phrase when you can't remember or it's not important when you did it. It's in the past. The other day is maybe yesterday. Maybe it's 2 days ago. Maybe it's 3 days ago. Maybe it's more. But it's a useful phrase if you can't remember or it's not important. So, oh yeah, we went there the other day. Or if you're trying to remember something, I read something the other day about that story. Or when I call my mum and she meets someone at the supermarket by surprise, she'll say, "Do you know who I saw the other day?" Again, when it happened is not important. So it's just in the recent past. So the other day, we went and saw that new thriller everyone's talking about. So yeah, to build on the point that Kat started, we went and saw. The main word is saw. I saw a film. That means I went to the cinema. In the UK, the movie theatre is often called the cinema. Cinema is often written on a big sign on the top. So yeah, I went to the cinema and I watched it there. So I didn't watch it at home. I didn't watch it on Netflix. I went to an old-fashioned cinema and I went and saw
Old-fashioned.
it. Yeah. You can also use saw with other big events. If you leave your house and you go to a place to watch a show, we also do this with concerts and shows. So we saw Coldplay in concert. That means we went to an arena or a concert hall and watched them. Or tomorrow, we're going to see the Royal Ballet. That sounds like you're going to a theatre. So when you go out to watch something, you go out for a performance, you see it. So that's what I said here. We went and saw that new thriller everyone's talking about. Thriller is one of the genres, Kat said. Yeah, I didn't see a thriller film. I saw a thriller. I would see an action film, a horror film, a sci-fi film. Yeah. But I
Yeah,
would
for sure.
watch, yeah. Then I'd see a comedy. I see a thriller. So in Kat's sentence, she said, this cool action movie. I said, that new thriller. And I think there's a little difference between these two words. Like Kat said, if I say this new thriller, I think that you don't know it. You haven't heard of it, and I don't think you know it. So this new thriller, it's new to you. But I said that new thriller everyone's talking about. That means I think you know this. And it's the one everyone's talking about. So maybe it's on posters. Maybe you've seen adverts for it on YouTube. Maybe you've read reviews in newspapers, or you've seen memes about it online, because that's how I get my news. Then that film, I think you know it. So I'm going to take my chances and say that new thriller, right? You know the one. So that means that I think you know it. this means maybe you don't know it. So
You know,
I always thought,
and that
hmm,
makes sense because if you said, "Oh, this new thriller everyone's talking about," but maybe I don't watch thrillers. Maybe I'm not really a big moviegoer, so maybe I wouldn't know about it.
mhm,
But if you said that new thriller that everyone's talking about, I feel like I should know about it. So I might say,
mm,
"Oh, wait, which one? Which one are you talking about?" Oh, sorry, it's this new one that's out. Everyone's been talking about it. So I would even change my language after I realize someone hasn't heard of it. I would even change it back from
mm,
that new thriller to this new thriller.
yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, how much you know or how much you think the other person knows
Mhm.
changes what you think. Okay, so the film you watched on Netflix, when did it come out?
It might be a new release. Let me check IMDb. Oh, no, I think it came out last year. Did you go see it? It's the one with Keanu Reeves? No? So, when we talk about a new release, that means it just recently came out into the movie theaters. So, it is a new release, kind of like a new summer movie, a new summer blockbuster would be a new release. Now, sometimes not all new releases go to the movie theater. You might see something on Netflix that has just come to Netflix. That is also a new release or newly released. That means they've opened the gates, allowed the movie to escape. So it might be a new release. Let me check IMDb. Now, IMDb is, I think it's called International Movie Database or something. Whatever it's called, I never remember the facts about movies. I don't remember when it came out. I don't even remember most of the time the main characters or the big actors or actresses in the movie. So I always need to get on my phone and check something. Oh, let me check Google. Wait, let me check online. Let me check Netflix. I don't remember the facts, so I'm always looking something up. So if I need to check the internet for some facts, I'll say, "Oh, let me check. Let me check." Oh no, it's not a new release. It actually came out last year. So when a movie comes out, it is the first time that it is introduced to the public. It's the first time we as people can see the movie. The movie came out in summer 2020. The movie came out in the winter of 2024. Now, like we talked about, watched, and went and saw. Did you go see it? Did you go see it? That means it came out in the movie theaters. Did you go see it? Did you go to the movie theater and see it on the big screen? It's the one with Keanu Reeves, the one with the actor. It's the rom-com with that actress. You know her, right? You know her. So it's the movie, or it's the one, or it's the thriller, or it's the action movie with this famous person. It's the one with Keanu Reeves. No? Not ringing any bells? You don't know what I'm talking about? Anyway, it's good. So, what about you, Mark? When did your movie come out?
It just came out a few days ago, but have you seen it yet? So, similar to the verbs that Kat used, it just came out a few days ago. I used another word, it just. It just came out a few days ago. Just means very recently. So it just came out maybe this week or just a few days ago. We also use this for singers, like Beyonce just released a new song. Maybe that happened earlier today or earlier this week. Or tickets just went on sale. That could be 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. So hurry, go, go. So it just came out. Films come out. I can't think of another verb that isn't passive because the movie was
Mm,
released, the film
mm.
was made available, but that's a bit of a mouthful and a lot of grammar gymnastics. So the film came out. So it came out just a few days ago. I think there's a more casual version where you remove the verb as well. When I'm asking my friends, I say, is it out yet?
Mm. Hmm.
If there's a film I'm excited for, but sometimes it's out in America first, and then we have to wait. So I can message my friend, is it out yet? So I don't
Yeah.
even use the verb, is it out? When is it out? It's out in America, and it's out here a few days later. So
Mm.
out is the main word, come out also works. And Kat said, did you go see it? I'll say, have you seen it yet? One small difference between British English and American English. I think British people use the present perfect a little bit more often, especially when we have like multiple days or a longer time period. We use the present perfect more, and especially talking about past actions that have finished.
Mhm.
So naturally, I tend to say, have you seen it yet? Since the film came out until now, have you seen it within this time? But it's the same thing. It's only out in the cinema, so you have to see it. You have to go and see it. If we're talking about something on Netflix or something just on streaming, my question would be different. If it was a show that's only on Netflix, I would say, have you watched it
Mhm.
yet? So watch is for Netflix and watch is for staying at home and watching it on your TV or your phone. But then seeing it, again, is going out, going to the cinema to watch it. So because my movie's in the cinema now, I will say, have you seen it yet? Okay, question 3. Do you think that I would like this film? The same film that you watched. Do you think I'd like it?
Honestly, if you liked the Fast and Furious and all those kinds of movies, I think you'd really like this one. So I'm letting him know. I mean, why would I go on and on and on about a movie, if I thought you would think it was boring, right? So honestly, if you like the Fast and Furious and all those kinds of movies, I think you'd really like this one. This is actually a pretty easy setup. If you liked this in the past, or if you do like this right now, if you liked the Fast and Furious and all those kinds of movies, Fast and Furious is pretty popular. Most people know that it's an action type of movie. Okay. Fast and Furious, car chases, bad guys, guns, explosions. So if you liked those kinds of movies, I think you'd really like this one. I think that you would really like. I think you'd really like. We can drop that and connect you and would. I think you'd really like this one. I think you'd really like this one. So here I said, those kind of movies. You know about those ones, right?
Right, those similar
And
ones.
exactly. And I think you'd really like this one that maybe you haven't heard of. This one. I think you'd like this one.
Mm.
Okay, so what about you? Do you think I'd like it?
Mm. If you like Gone Girl and things like that, then this will be right up your streets. So, in both of our sentences, we're using conditionals to give advice, give recommendations. If you want to recommend a place or a thing or a film or a book, we do use conditionals, but we've used different ones each. So my one is actually the first conditional. If you like Gone Girl, Gone Girl is the English title of a famous thriller that was it's like 10 years old already, but that's a famous thriller. If you like Gone Girl and things like that, then this will be right up your street. Let's talk about that phrase first. This will be right up your street means I think it's perfect for you. It matches your preferences and your interests perfectly. You will love it. It's right up your street. There is a similar phrase, right up your alley,
That's
but it seems
American.
to be some kind of, oh, okay, right. There's any kind of narrow road. it seems to be part of this phrase. So
I
it'll be
think it's
right up
kind of
your alley.
like going in the right direction. There's only one way to go, right up your
Mm.
alley. Do you not say that as often
Uh,
in the UK?
Right up your street. Yeah, I'd say street. That was the
Okay.
first one that came to mind.
Mhm.
So it'll be right up your street. Or, wow, that's right up my street. Um, yeah, so if I know you're interested in history and I see a book about history, I'd say, oh, this looks right up your street. Or if I know you're interested in sports and podcasts, I'll be like, oh, I found this sports podcast that sounds right up your street. So, this film, if you like thrillers, then this will be right up your street. And again, I'm using the conditional. If you like, then this will. So that's the first conditional. And I think I'm using this because my film is in the cinema now. So you
Mm.
can watch it now or this week or tomorrow. And I think you will like it. But you have to go this week or next week or in a few weeks. You've got this future window of time. If you go in this time, you will like it. I'm very confident as well. With Cats one, which was the second conditional, if you liked Fast and Furious, you would like this too. I feel like because the film is not in the cinema, you can decide if you want to watch it or not. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. There's so many choices on Netflix and they're always there and you can watch them whenever you want. So if you wanted to listen to me, I think you would enjoy this film. But it's up to you. You can say yes, you can say no, and you have all the time in the world. People give me show recommendations and movie recommendations all the time, and I forget them, honestly. I think lots of people recommend shows to each other, and then nobody really follows those recommendations, or at least I don't. So I feel like because my film's in the cinema and you've got a small future window to watch it, if you like this film, you will like this. But Cats one's on Netflix and you can watch it whenever you like. I'd say if you liked the other films, you would like it if you decided to watch it. Does that make any sense? I hope so.
So, yeah, I'm hung up on the fact that every time I've recommended a movie to you, you won't watch it.
Oh, it joins a very long list of other films I have to watch from 2019. I'll get around to it. I promise. Okay, so your film. What kind of film is it?
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Okay, big deal, your stereotypical car chases and explosions, but this one is actually really good. So, what kind of movie is it? It's an action film. It's an action movie, right? And I know what you're thinking. This is a good phrase. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Action films, they're all the same. Everything sounds exactly the same. The plot is exactly the same. Even the same actors and actresses are always in the same action movies.
It's true.
But I know what you're thinking. Look, no, before you say no, before you put me on the list of things you will never watch, okay? I know what you're thinking, Mark. I know what you're thinking. Okay, big deal. Your stereotypical car chases and explosions. Now, stereotypical is when you have this thought already in your mind before you go see it. Okay. You saw one action film, you saw one action movie in your life, and then you started to watch a second one, and it was exactly the same as the first one. This stereotypical car chases, this stereotypical big explosions, the big Hollywood explosions. But this one is actually really good. Okay. So, I know what you're thinking, but it's actually good, okay? We love the word actually. Actually. It
Mm.
kind of means surprisingly. Now, look, I know what you're thinking. I know what you don't think like that. Don't think like that. This one is surprisingly good. This one is actually good. For real this time. I know I suggested an action film last week and I said it would be different and it wasn't. But this one is actually good. All right? This one is actually good.
Mm.
So,
I mean, this sounds right up my
mhm.
street. Big action films, car chases, explosions. Yes, I actually want to watch this film. That sounds right up my street.
Sometimes people do want the stereotypical, they don't want to maybe they put the action movie on Netflix. They put the action film on the TV simply because they wanted to just have some big explosions, have some excitement, and then eat some popcorn really quickly, right?
Yeah, I don't want to think for 90 minutes. I can just switch off my brain and watch cars go vroom and bombs go boom, and then I'm happy. That's all I
Exactly,
want.
exactly.
I'm a simple man.
So, what about you, Mark? What kind of movie is it?
It starts off like your standard thriller. This woman disappears and no one knows where she is. So I'll isolate that phrase, that part just for now. It starts off like your standard thriller. In many of these episodes, we've had examples where native speakers use a phrasal verb with two words when you could also use the normal verb and it's exactly the same. So it starts. The film starts like a standard thriller is correct. I said it starts off like a standard thriller. So these sentences have exactly the same meaning, but native speakers like to use phrasal verbs to make it more casual and conversational. So it starts off like your standard thriller. So we already discussed thriller is the genre. It's a thriller. I don't have to say film or movie. So now you know the genre. You're probably imagining some of the typical plots, the typical characters or tropes, the things that always happen. And yeah, it's like those. It's your standard thriller. It starts off like your standard thriller. So I want to highlight the word your standard thriller. It is correct to say a standard thriller. It starts off like a standard thriller, but I said it starts off like your standard thriller. Your, for me, is a little bit more casual, a little bit more typical. It's your, and I mean this to say it's like all the others. So, it's your standard action film. You have your guns, your explosions, your like buff lead character, or it's your standard Disney movie. So you have your talking animals, your songs, your magical kingdoms. All these typical things can be your things because it's you and it's everyone. It's
It's
the
it has a
universal your.
special name. It has a special name in English. It's called the generic you. The
That's it.
generic you. And even though
Mm,
I'm talking to you, I don't mean you or your thriller. Actually, sometimes we do have to tell other people. I don't mean you. I mean
mm.
everybody, you. So it is called the generic you if our students want to look it up. And it is very common to use in English for sure.
Right. Yeah, right. And maybe I'm trying to emphasize how generic and typical it is with you. So it's your typical thriller, your standard thriller.
You know.
And then, yeah, you and everyone
Mm-hmm.
else knows.
You know, right? You know.
Yeah.
No,
Mm.
you know.
So I then start to describe the plot, the story a little bit. This woman disappears and no one knows where she is. So again, I know this is a typical standard thriller, so even my tone of voice, I'm describing the start of the film, and it's very predictable, and it's kind of a cliche, and you've heard this before. This woman disappears, and no one knows where she is. So I know that you've heard that story a million times,
I
and
still love it.
I'm explaining. Yeah, right. Some people still enjoy that. I do too. The grammar thing is plots of films, we always tell them in the present simple. It
Mm-hmm.
is now. So this woman disappears. No one knows where she is.
Mm.
So even though this film was recorded years ago and released days ago, the story is forever. The story is always true for every viewer. It's the same experience for everyone in the audience. So it stays in the present simple.
I
So
think
if you
too
describe any plot.
when you're telling the story, I'm like, it's happening right now. I feel it. I
Yeah.
feel like we're in the story and things are happening right now. So I actually like storytelling like that. If you are just
Yeah.
kind of telling me about the stuff that happened in the past, I don't feel as connected to it. So I do like that storytelling method.
Mm. Yeah, because it's in the present, it's maybe more urgent or more present. It's happening right now. So she has to find her lost father. Like she has to now. That's more dramatic. Or there is an alien who wants to destroy Earth. That's like happening right now. So yeah, plots are in the present. We'll see some more examples of that in a moment. So yeah, Kat, what's your movie about?
So the whole setup is pretty wild because it mixes in a bit of sci-fi without going overboard. So I tried to make the plot, the summary of our movie kind of short and kind of generic. I'm sure that most of our students can use different words to explain what happens in a movie, but I like the vocabulary that we chose here. The whole setup. The whole setup. When I say the whole setup, I mean the plot, the story that is taking us into the movie. So the whole setup is pretty wild because it mixes in a bit of sci-fi without going overboard. So I'm using the whole setup or the whole movie or the whole plot or the whole story. So this is the story building up to the movie is pretty wild, kind of crazy, pretty wild. These are common phrases to say that's a little bit different or a little crazy. Um, Action movies are kind of crazy. So it's pretty wild because it mixes in a bit of sci-fi. Now, science fiction with the short I, but sci-fi, like Wi-Fi. So a sci-fi, a bit of sci-fi without going overboard. Now, if you go overboard, it's just too much. Okay. It's excessive. If you have 8 car crashes in 10 minutes, okay, we get it. You're crashing the cars. Okay, that's a bit overboard. That's a bit excessive. 8 car crashes? I mean, I know it's an action film, but come on. So the whole setup is pretty wild because it mixes in a bit of sci fi without going overboard. Now, I think I meant, oh, yes, sci-fi, science fiction. So usually sci-fi or science fiction would be maybe space or time travel or a different kind of technology or a different society, something like that. So it's kind of mixing genres a little bit. I like that word, genre. Genre. We've stolen the French word there.
Là, is a
So
genre.
so we're mixing up the genres just a little bit, and we're making it a little bit sci-fi. It's definitely an action film, definitely an action movie, but we've mixed in a little bit of another one. Okay. And that's pretty common in movies today. If you don't want to be too cliche, like Mark said, and be exactly the same movie like always, maybe you'll mix in a little something different. Okay.
True. But
So, yeah.
so did it what the Fast and Furious did that, right? Idris
Yes.
Elba is the baddie and he's like half robot, half
Yes,
machine.
that's
That's pretty
definitely
sci-fi.
hey,
And
spoilers, spoilers, I'm
oh,
pretty
sorry.
sure that's
I
the
mean,
end of the
that's
movie.
not the end. So-
It's
Sorry,
not?
guys.
Yes, it is, it's definitely the
I mean,
end.
no. I mean, you know that.
Spoilers!
You know that at the beginning, he's just the baddie. But you know he's
Oh,
the baddie, so it's fine.
oh. I
It's a
I didn't
spoiler.
really pay
But
attention
yeah,
until they had another car crash,
that's fine. Yeah, it's Fast
another
and
car
Furious. It
chase.
doesn't matter. Yeah, the story doesn't matter.
So maybe the action movie mixed with sci-fi is a new stereotype. Maybe it's a new cliché.
Right. Yeah, right. Because it's so common now. It's its own subgenre.
Okay, so Mark, what's your movie about?
So this woman disappears and no one knows where she is. So this policewoman has to try and find her, and it goes on from there. It's full of twists and turns. I liked it more than I thought I would, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. So I start by describing the plot a little bit more. Again, I'm using the present simple. So this policewoman has to try and find her, and it goes on from there. Again, I'm using an example of this policewoman, this new character who you haven't met because you haven't seen the film. This policewoman has to try and find her, and it goes on from there. Goes on, it continues from there. I'm not going to tell you any more because I don't want to ruin the story. And especially with a thriller, the story and the twists and the turns are the most exciting part. This film, it's full of twists and turns. So twists, when we're talking about films, twists are surprises where you learn something new or a character does something dramatic. So someone betrays another one, or someone reveals their true identity, or their friend is actually the bad guy. Maybe the biggest twist in cinema is Star Wars, where Darth Vader is like, I am your father. And everyone's like,
Spoilers.
spoilers. Yeah. I mean,
I've
you've had
actually
time
never
to watch
seen
Star
it.
Wars.
I've never seen
That's
it.
fine. But you still know it. You know it
No,
because
I
it's
don't.
such a big twist.
No, I've never. You were the first one to ever reveal that to me. Spoilers.
Too. I'm sorry. Spoilers. So, yeah, that's a twist. And thrillers and some genres really rely on the twists and turns for the entertainment. That's why you're watching. That's the fun part, is the twists. No one is who they say they are. Somebody's lying or someone's hiding something. Those are the most exciting parts about a thriller. So those are called twists and turns. So these are surprising, dramatic, sometimes a little bit silly moments that change the story completely. And I liked it more than I thought I would. So I like the grammar here. I liked it more than I thought I would. So I'm
Great
talking
sentence.
about, right, it's my opinion before I watched it. Before the film, I didn't think I would enjoy it. Or before I watched it, I thought it would be bad. But actually, I watched the film and I enjoyed it more than my opinion before. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. So would there is the past of will. So I'm taking my opinion before the film, my prediction before the film, and changing it to the past. So I liked it more than I thought I would. This is true when you watch a film that's different from your usual genre. Maybe it's a film that your friend loves and they've been trying to make you watch it for ages and you're like, okay, fine, let's watch it. And actually you like it more than you thought you would. So when a movie surprises you or when it's better than you expected, this would be a good phrase. And finally, the film doesn't take itself too seriously. So take itself too seriously. Some films take themselves very seriously, and movies try to be like art. They have long shots where no one talks, no one does anything. It's just like the leaves blowing in the wind. And it's supposed to be really serious, and there's no jokes, and it's very slow. That film is taking itself too seriously. I like it when movies act like movies. Things happen quite quickly. Characters say
Entertaining.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more fun. It's more dramatic. It's more dramatic than real life. People say things that you don't say in real life, but it's a movie, so it's fine. And I like this movie because it doesn't take itself too seriously. Maybe it was more dramatic, but it was more fun that way, and that's why I enjoyed it. Okay, so in your film, Kat, were the characters any good?
I thought that the characters were really good, surprisingly relatable, despite the over-the-top big action scene. So I thought that the characters were really good. Now, the characters are the people in the movie. Mark is going to say the actors, and that includes
Spoilers.
men and women. And so the characters were really good. Surprisingly relatable. I like this word relatable. I think relatable makes you feel like they are real people. Maybe their acting was really good and you felt like you had the same problems. They had the same problems as normal people, so they are relatable. Someone is funny, joking around, someone has some issues or some problems, so they feel like you can connect to them. These are relatable people.
She's an English teacher, just like me. That's very relatable.
Yes, she's blonde and she's American, just like me.
Yeah.
How
Wow.
relatable. So, despite the over the top big action scene. Now, of course, for me, it's not really an action movie if you don't have kind of the big action scene. Usually there's lots of little ones, but then you have the really big action scene, the big explosion where the hero is walking away at the end, that big over the top big action scene. So when I say over the top, I mean it's a bit much, right? Okay, it's a bit much. Yes, you kind of roll your eyes a little bit. Maybe it is exciting, but it's just, the explosion is really big and the story was good. And then all of a sudden, just everyone gets blown up and you think, really? Come on.
Mhm.
Okay, that was a bit over the top. Okay. So if something is over the top, it's negative. Now I'm kind of putting two things together. I liked the characters. I thought they were relatable. And then, okay, well, then there was this big action scene. So, despite the negative thing, despite the thing I didn't like, I'm still happy. I still liked the characters. So, I thought that the characters were really good, despite the over the top big action scene. So, this is a good way to kind of compare that you still liked it overall, even though the over the top action scene was really crazy. Okay. So, despite the scene, I still liked the characters.
I think the big is actually a good phrase because
Mm,
the big one, it's the, so it's only one. And that's
hmm.
usually the final one. Like
Yes.
the big climax, the showdown is the one where they spent the most money, they have the most explosions, it's the most intense. That's the big scene. The big action scene is usually the last one, the most dramatic one in all the trailers.
All right. So, what about for your movie? Were the characters any good?
The actors were genuinely believable for most of it. So, again, Kat said the characters, and those are the characters in the film, in the story. I say the actors. So, the actors are the professionals trying to play the characters. And maybe I'm a movie snob. Maybe when I'm watching a film, I'm thinking about the acting, and maybe I'm not thinking about the story so much. But I said the actors were genuinely believable. So I believed their emotions. I believed their reactions. When one of them was crying, they genuinely looked very sad. Or this is a big compliment. If their acting wasn't good, I would say the acting wasn't very believable, or the story wasn't very believable. But when a film is believable, the actors are believable, the story's believable, it feels quite true. It feels like it's really happening. They're very, very good at recreating these emotions for you on the screen. So, yeah, I thought the actors were genuinely believable for most of it. So, big thumbs up for me. Okay, what about the ending? How was the ending of your film?
Okay. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the ending was a little predictable. So I don't want to ruin it for you. I don't want to spoil it for you. I don't want to tell you the ending of a movie you haven't seen yet. That would be rude, right? So I would say sometimes, you have to think about what happened in the movie and you think, well, I mean, no, 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 no. I can't tell you more information. I don't want to ruin it for you. So to ruin something is to kind of make the movie bad in your eyes because you No, you know the ending. You know the ending already. So why would you go see it? You've ruined it. You've ruined it. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the ending was a little predictable. I mean, it is an action film. Okay, it is an action film. So maybe you think, oh, well, the good guy's gonna win. Okay. And guess what? That was pretty predictable. I knew what was gonna happen. The good guy's gonna win, sure. And then at the end of the movie, after the big action scene, yes, the good guy wins. So
Spoilers. Wow.
yeah, spoilers, spoiler. You
Now I'm
you
not
didn't
going to
even
watch it.
you don't even know which one I'm talking about. The one with Keanu Reeves. Do you
That's
even know
fair,
which
yeah.
one I'm talking about?
That's fair point. Yeah.
This made up movie in my English class. So the ending was a little predictable. And if something is predictable, you think you know what's going to happen. And then when it comes true at the end, like sometimes when I'm watching a TV show and someone will say, "Oh, is that the bad guy?" And I say, "What? No, that's, huh, how did you know?" And then I watch the last episode and someone has spoiled it for me, telling me who the bad guy was. And I'm thinking, "Oh, you ruined it for me. You spoiled the ending for me." Even though they were just taking a guess. Sometimes some other people find things predictable and maybe I didn't see it, I didn't see it. But the ending was a little predictable. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the good guy is probably going to win at the end, right? All right, what about you, Mark? How was the ending of your movie?
No spoilers, but you can see the ending coming a mile away. But by the end, I was actually quite invested. So the first half of my phrase, no spoilers, but you can see the end coming a mile away. So when Kat said, I don't want to ruin it, I said, no spoilers, but when you want to talk about a film, sometimes the most exciting part is a twist, a plot twist, or a surprise. And it's the one thing you can't talk about. So if you, it's a hard spot to be in, but this is the phrase that we usually start it with. No spoilers, but a spoiler is a piece of information or a part of the story that tells you how it ends. And again, sometimes this is the most exciting part of the whole film. But if you talk about it, then you say a spoiler or share a spoiler. We often use it in the plural, spoilers. If one of your friends is talking about a film and they tell you the ending, you're like, oh, no, spoilers, spoilers. I haven't seen it. So that's the word we use. It's always plural. I don't know why. You might also watch a YouTube video about a film or about a video game, and they're going to talk about the ending, and on the screen, they'll say, warning, spoilers ahead. So spoilers means the ending of the story. So if you want to be surprised and shocked when you watch it the first time, don't watch any spoilers. Avoid spoilers. Sometimes that's quite hard, especially with social media, especially with sports results. You can see the result of a game, and that's a spoiler if you wanted to watch it live or watch it afterwards. But you can see the ending coming a mile away. I think in a previous episode, we talked about miles away, and it means very, very far. Too far. I don't want to do it. Same phrase here. A mile away means very far. You can see the ending coming a mile away. So this means the ending is very easy to predict. You know that, he's not really dead. Or if it's a romantic comedy,
Spoilers.
you know they're going to get back together in the end. You can see it coming a mile away. So it's very, very easy to predict. Okay, so last question of the script. Should I go and see it? Should I go and see your film?
I know everyone's a movie critic. Everyone has something that they want to say, how to review, talk about the movie. But still, I definitely recommend it if you're into nonstop action. So we talked about how, I started at the beginning saying it's not your typical action movie. It's not exactly like these action movies, but in the end, it kind of was. It kind of was. Still, still, despite that, even though it's a typical action movie, I definitely recommend it if you're into nonstop action. So, still, I kind of did say some mean things about it. I did say some, maybe even spoilers a little bit. Still, I definitely recommend it if you're into nonstop action. Okay, so even though the ending might be predictable, even though there's the car chases, even though, despite all that, still, I definitely recommend it. So, what about you? Do you think I should go see it?
Yes, is the short answer. By the end, I was actually quite invested. Invested means very interested. I want to see the characters survive. I want to see the ending. I invested my emotions in this film. If the characters die, then I'll be sad. So if you watch a film and you are invested, you really want to see the ending. You don't want to stop and leave before. You really want to see how it ends and what happens to the characters. And that happened to me. I was actually quite invested. It's definitely worth watching on the big screen. It's definitely worth watching on the big screen. The big screen is another way to talk about the cinema. On the big screen is in the cinema with a large screen, lots of comfortable chairs in a dark room with a projector and popcorn, the full cinema experience. And some films are a lot better on the big screen because literally the screen is bigger and it's very high quality. They also have big speakers, so the music is louder and better, and sometimes it shakes the room, and so it's easier to get immersed in the whole film. So it's definitely worth watching on the big screen. Like, you should. It will be better to watch it on the big screen. So you should check it out before it goes. You should check it out before it goes. Again, my film is in the cinema, so it's only here for 1 month, maybe 2, and then it goes. The cinema stops playing it, and you have to wait until it's on a streaming service. So you should check it out before it goes. Check it out is try it, watch it, look for it, and try it. See if you enjoy it. You should check it out. This is always the phrase we use when we recommend films, series, seasons on Netflix, anywhere. You should check out this new show. It's called, I don't know, Love Story 7. You should check out this action movie. It's like the other ones you enjoy. So check out or check it out is the phrase for recommending films and movies.
All right, so there we go. We hope you've learned lots of great new phrases and expressions all about movies. We love reading your comments, so please tell us about the last movie that you watched. Did you like it? What was it about? Would you recommend it to us? Try to use some of these phrases you saw in the episode. We read and reply to all of our comments, so this is a great chance to practice with us.
Yes, one final reminder, if you want the PDF transcript for this episode, then you can get it if you become a high-level listener member. You can see the join button below, and we'll also put a link in the description below as well. The PDF for this episode is ready to go. You can download it right now, so if you can join us and enjoy it. We will see you very soon for another advanced vocabulary episode. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.